You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm Stephen Cabral, and today, I really like the show, and the reason I like it is that I get to be, I wouldn't say too controversial, but I really get to whittle things down. My job, or at least what I really enjoy doing, is taking just these complex-based principles from science, from exercise, from nutrition, from supplementation, and just trying to make it as easy as possible, because really that's the bottom line. That's how we move forward, is just make things simple. I mean, we can talk about like, oh, well, doing this exercise at this tempo and this speed can help you do this, this, and this. Yes, it can. All of those things are absolutely true, but sometimes it just gives you that little extra edge. Like it adds like 5% more benefit, when really what I'm looking for is that 95%, right? So what I want to talk about today is there's only two main leg exercises that you need in your workout, okay? Now, there are others that are great, and I'll discuss those as well, but there are only two main ones you need, and that's a squat and a deadlift. So let's get into that now and why. Well, here's the thing. When you're on a machine and you're doing like a leg extension or a leg curl, what's happening is you're only using your knee joint. And whenever you use just your knee joint, you're loading up that joint and you're isolating the muscles basically above it. So that means you're just isolating your quad with a leg extension. You're isolating your hamstring with a leg curl where you're lying down, kind of curling the machine up to you. So the issue with it is it provides or puts more stress on the joint, which is your knee, and it's working a lot less muscle. Typically, it's seen as about 30% less muscle, which means you're using 30% less metabolism or metabolic-based effect when you're on a machine, when you're sitting down. The other thing is it's not functional, right? You never do that in regular life, but you squat every day in regular life, and I'll give examples, and deadlift every day in regular life. The other thing is when you're doing a squat, which I will explain what that is in a moment, and a deadlift, you are using your hip joint, you're using your knee joint, and you're using your ankle. That's 3 joints. And that means there's a lot less stress on each individual joint, which is much better for them. And also, 60% of all of the muscle in your body, all right, all of your, basically your metabolism, right, and the muscle is from the top of that hip joint, right, your side, right? You get that iliac crest. You can feel it in the side when you touch your side, all the way down to your kneecap. That's about 60% of all the muscle in your body. And the reason that that's true is that all you have is one bone in the middle of that thigh, and that's your femur bone. Now, in the rest of your body, you have multiple bones. And you also, like in your whole torso, which looks big, it's hollow, right? All of your guts are just inside of your torso, your organs and your intestines. So what we have is just a large area like your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads and your adductors, which are the inner thighs, that are providing the metabolic boost of your body, right? That is your muscle. That's what gets worked when you do your squats and deadlifts. So not only do you have more joints working with less chance for injury and less chance for loading up those joints, but you have the most metabolic potential effect there, which means that even if you didn't do an upper body exercise, you're still going to boost your metabolism, which is such an amazing thing. Plus, when you're doing a squat and a deadlift, you're typically holding weights. You're either holding them up on your shoulders or you're holding them down by your sides. But either way, your body is loaded because it has your whole upper body. So that means that even though it's mainly your legs working, you're also working your upper body because you have to stabilize your core so that your chest doesn't fall forward or fall side to side. And that's just so important because now you're not just working your legs, you're working your core. So now you're really working everything except your arms. And if you put weights in your arms, now you're working your entire body. So truly, the squat and deadlift, some variation of those, should really be in almost every single one of your workouts if you want to boost your metabolism to the greatest amount possible. Now, as a bodybuilder, maybe not. As a figure competitor, maybe not. But we're talking about your average person who wants to look good, who wants longevity-based effects, and who wants to boost their metabolism, right? So when you're looking for those specific things, you need to include these two exercises. So now what is a squat and a deadlift? Well, a squat is simply, let's say, putting weights on your shoulders, like literally just holding 2 dumbbells and putting them on your shoulders. Don't worry about having to put a barbell on your back. I know we always see that big 7-foot bar in photos, but you don't need to do that. The average person doesn't need to do that. You can even just put your hands overhead and squat sitting back. Now, a lot of people, the first thing to say is, I can't do squats because my knees hurt. Well, that's like always the excuse. But we've done over 200,000 client sessions. I can tell you this. There's not one person I've seen that doesn't sit every day in a chair, right? Every time you go to sit down in a chair or onto the toilet, you're squatting down, right? You're sitting down. A squat is simply sitting down. And I guarantee you, after you sat down, you stood back up. Okay? So if you're sitting down and you're standing back up, you are squatting. So now we're really just talking about semantics. How much weight do you do? How many times do you do it? So I know you can do it at least once. And for our very beginners, guess what we're doing? We're putting a chair down or putting a box down or a bench, and all they have to do is sit on the bench and stand back up. Now, instead of doing it just once, we're having them do it 10 times to 15 times. But you can use your own body weight, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you know what? You should. If you have any knee-based issues, you don't need any extra weight right now. What you really need to do is start to teach your body how to sit back on your glutes and heels. I will link up a video in the show notes. It tells you exactly and teaches you exactly how to squat. You just need to learn how to sit back on your heels and sit back with your hips instead of putting all the shearing force on your knees. Once you do that, no more knee pain. I cannot tell you the number of people that I've personally taken through these specific exercises and they have no knee pain when they squat. Zero. Typically, it's from the knees internally rotating, basically your kind of your legs and knees come in as you squat down and your feet turn out. Well, that's biomechanics. That means that your glutes aren't activating, and that means a lot of times that your hip flexors are too tight and your calves are too tight. Well, we foam roll out the hip flexors and the calves. We get those loosened up. We do some stretching. The body's back to normal. We get you squatting, and there's no problem at all. And it boosts your metabolism literally through the roof. It strengthens your glutes, gives more tone to the glutes, and that's, again, where that metabolism is. So the second part is a deadlift, but I want you to think of a deadlift as this. Now, a deadlift is holding weights by your sides, or a barbell, of course, or kettlebells, or a sandbag, or whatever you want, and literally squatting down again. But the weight now is towards the floor, so that's called an Olympic deadlift. But there's something called a Romanian deadlift, and that's really the one that I'm talking about right now. It's a hinge with the hips. So a squat's more knee dominant, and a deadlift is more hip dominant. Well, all that means is this, like, you're literally bending down and your legs are a little straighter than a squat, right? With a squat, you bend your knees, and with a deadlift, essentially you don't. And I'll link up a video on this as well, but all you're trying to do is something called a Romanian deadlift. Please look it up for yourself as well. Very, very simple. It's literally just what they call a hip hinge. It's like you do with a kettlebell swing. So you could technically say a kettlebell swing is a form of a deadlift because you're using the same muscles. I wouldn't go that far, but you could say that. So what I'm trying to show you is this, that the deadlift is the hip-based exercise, the hamstrings, and the squat is more of the glutes and quads. Now, the deadlift is also your glutes as well, but think of the squat as more the front of your body and think of the deadlift as, let's say, the back of your body for your hamstrings. If you do those two, you're going to be very well balanced. But not only that, you're going to boost your metabolism by such a high degree. I can't even explain to you versus doing like machines. It's just so much greater. And once you've got those two down, then of course, if you work out multiple days per week, you can add in other things like a lunge or a step up. Those are also fantastic exercises, but they don't replace your squat and your deadlift. Now, they don't even have to because, and again, I use all of those. I use a lunge in my programs for my weight loss clients, body transformation clients, and I also use a step up because I don't have to just choose those two. But if I'm choosing those two, those are the two most important. Now, a squat, you can do a body weight squat. You can do, like I said, the overhead squat. You can do a TRX squat. You could do a one-leg squat down to a bench, which we often do, just body weight. Then you could do a barbell squat. You could do kettlebell squats. You could do a goblet squat, which is holding the kettlebell in front, sitting back. That's a great way to learn. You could do Bulgarian split squats, where really that's a lunge. For the deadlifts, you could do the Olympic deadlift, which is bending the knees and squatting down. You can do a Romanian deadlift. You can do the Romanian deadlift with cables. You can do it with kettlebells. You can do it with just your own body weight reaching forward. So again, there's so many different variations of this that every single person, there doesn't matter if you're 88 years old, 98 years old, or 28 years old, everyone should be doing these two exercises. Now, will there always be this fraction of a percentage who can't do it? Yes. But to this day, I work with clients that are about to have their knees replaced, hips replaced. Everyone still needs to do these exercises because you have to keep the muscle strong, and you actually have been shown to recover faster from any of those surgeries. So very, very few people should not do these exercises. If there's any knee pain, again, it simply means there's a biomechanical issue that needs to be corrected. All right, so hopefully that helps demystify really how to even choose leg exercises, because right now, just put in every workout a variation of a squat, like a front squat or back squat, and then choose another one. Choose a Romanian deadlift with kettlebells. Choose it with one leg Romanian deadlift to a box, so basically just touching a weight down and pulling back up. And I have so many videos on YouTube from my work with Diet.com that you can see them. They go back like 7 years, all different variations of leg exercises. Feel free to check them out. I mean, they're free videos, and we'll even link up a few today in the show notes. So go back, check those out. And now if there's any additional questions, like, tell me a little bit more about a deadlift or whatever it is, feel free to just go to stevencabral.com/Ask Cabral. You can ask all of your questions there, and I will answer those every weekend during our Cabral house calls. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and do feel free to share this episode with anyone you believe it could help. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.